So let's hear it for Esther Rose. So this is 2017, and this is the beginning of our yearly theme. Every year we have a new theme, and we've been doing this now for about 7 or 8 years, I think. And this is called the Transformational Journey. We will be on a transformational journey together this year. And the truth is, we're already on a transformational journey, wouldn't you say? Whether we have chosen it or not, we're here. And last week, Diane reminded us that we have been made for these times. And I know that last week, many of you participated in the Women's March. How many did? Look at this, practically the whole room. Yeah, and men and women. I was in Ashland, Oregon last week with Jean Houston. Ashland, Oregon has a population of, I believe it's like 22,000, and 12,000 people march, so it was like, wow. I marched in Jean Houston's living room. We marched around in a circle because we were doing some deep work. And what we did as we marched is we spoke prayers into the circle, joining with everyone who was marching. And so we would just speak the word, I'm marching for equal rights, I'm marching for love, I'm marching for equal opportunities for all. And we just kind of did this ritual blessing so that we could join with everybody. However, I did have friends that were in Washington, D.C. I had a girlfriend who was in Chicago. Of course, all of you here in Seattle, and my own daughter was in Seattle as well. And I asked my daughter, I said, so how did you like it, How was it? And she said, Mom, I think that no matter what happens in the future, we should just call whatever we're doing a women's march, Don't call it a protest because it's like, rah, 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 has that kind of energy. But women's march is just like, oh, yeah, women are marching, men are marching, She goes, we stopped, we had lunch, It was very pleasant. She said, I really felt like I saw what Dr. Martin Luther King was talking about when he spoke about nonviolence, and that there was this great energy of kindness and compassion and love in the air. And the truth is, I experienced that same energy the night the Cubs won the pennant in Chicago. Now, yes, people were drunk, but everyone was kind, everyone was loving, and everyone was, even in the bleachers, like people were hugging each other. Now, I've been around a long time, and I've never seen that in the bleachers. And I feel like I've been witnessing kindness and compassion en masse in ways that I've never seen it before. So there is a rising energy, there is a rising love that is happening in the world. And right now we are being called to step up in ways that we never have before. So this is not the time to go back to sleep. This is not the time to keep changing channels on the remote or lost in the computer. It's a time to awaken, and to awaken the prefrontal lobe, this part of our brain, so that we can co-create a world that works for everyone. So when your reptilian brain, which is back here, when your reptilian brain starts to take over, do not give in to fear, because the truth is you are more than your reptilian brain. You are sons and daughters of the Most High. Hallelujah, we are sons and daughters of God, and it's time that we put into practice and live fully and completely the words that Jesus said when he said, love one another as I have loved you. Yes, and recently Pope Francis said about the stuff that's kind of going on, he said it's hypocrisy to call yourself a Christian and chase away a refugee or someone who is seeking help. So we are being called to love. We are being called to step up. So every year, like I said, for the last 7 or 8 years, we have had a different theme. And I believe that the former themes that we have pursued over the years, whether you were a part of it or not, has helped prepare us for this time. So I want to do a brief review of some of the themes. We started off with the 12 powers. Now, for those of you who are new to Unity, the 12 powers are like the 7 chakras, only there's 12 of them. And it was designed by Charles Fillmore. So they're power points that are in the body. So faith is located in the pituitary gland, the imagination, strength, power, love, understanding, discernment. So the first year we spent a month going over and studying and awakening these powers, and we actually did it another year, so we've done that for 2 years. 1 year we studied world religions, so we spent about a month on each religion, whether it was Hinduism or Sufism or Judaism. And we brought in different teachers from the different traditions. We tried practices from different religions. And I think that the energy of that year is contained within our tapestries. We celebrated community 1 year. Remember the theme, where everybody knows your name, kind of the Cheers theme? And again, whether you know everybody's name or not, I think that from that year we planted seeds of welcoming and community and a warmth that is here. Another year we dreamed, not only for ourselves, but we dreamed for the world. And a couple of years ago, we went on a soul trek together, answering the call of the soul and the hero's journey. And then finally, last year, we ignited the different archetypes, right? So that we recognize that we're not just these limited beings, but we have access to so many different parts of our personalities, and that we can call them in to this template. We can connect to that template to live full and complete lives. So now we use these tools to step forward into this transformational journey. And so my question to you is, what do you think it means to transform? And how many times have you transformed in your life? Probably quite a few, eh? You know, I get an image of the snake shedding its skin. To transform means to change the outward form or appearance, or to change in character or condition. So we are being called to transform. So are you ready? You might want to think about that, because you know transformation's a pretty big thing. Are you ready to transform? All right, so, you know, another image of that is the phoenix, right? And the phoenix was a bird that could regenerate from the ashes of its predecessor. We regenerate from the ashes of our past. So we're also on a transformational journey as a community, because this is most likely going to be our last year in this physical building. As it looks now, we may be moving out in, the spring, maybe, of 2018. And Dee Dee Graves is heading up a project to gather stories and memories of your experiences. And when we asked her to take on this project, she said, what if it was like an art project? What if we had like stories and song, and we could just open the door to make it kind of fun and interesting? And she's going to talk more about that at our annual meeting. But we're going to honor our past, and we're going to vision the future. And not only are we transforming this building, but we're transforming this community. I mean, we're in the midst of transformation. Look around at South Lake Union. Hello. I mean, when you think about what it looked like a year ago or 5 years ago, it's unrecognizable, isn't it? How many of you live in the neighborhood now? Still a few. Not as many yet, but, we're calling in the people in South Lake Union. So again, not only are we transforming this building, but we're transforming as a community. And the truth is, this is a really unique experience to be a part of. I mean, how often do you get to have the chance to be a part of a community that is going through such change? And the truth is that we will receive many gifts from being a part of this process. And I think that one of the stories that we're probably going to be leaning on quite a bit this year is the story of the Exodus, of the Israelites leaving Egypt. Because in a sense, we are like the Israelites, and we are preparing to leave Egypt and go into the wilderness before we can get back to the promised land. And so you have no program. That was just a little bit of a little taste of that. Egypt metaphysically represents that which no longer serves you or that which is no longer for your highest good. This building has served us for over a half century, but now it's time that we transform it. And in preparation for this journey into the wilderness, we're going to have to walk through it and see what it is that we need to keep and what it is we need to release on this journey, just as we do in our own personal lives. Now, metaphysically, Egypt can also represent the reptilian brain. And when we are governed by fear and this idea of survival and the this is mine mentality, then we're in captive, yeah? We're imprisoned in Egypt, in a sense. And so my question to you today is, what is holding you captive? What is enslaving you? And what is it that you are willing to leave behind? And what do you need to do to prepare for this journey? Because we are going to walk through the journey of this building, the journey of what's happening in the world. We're going to walk through it together mindfully and with love. Remember, Jesus said, love one another as I have loved you. Each one of us is being called to do a deep and spiritual work in ways that we have never seen before, in ways that we have never experienced before. And it's imperative that we join our minds and our hearts together. So I'd actually like to lead us in just a mini exercise in joining the mind and the heart. So if you would just release anything that you may have in your lap and kind of prepare yourself just to be open. And just as we do for those of us who have been in chaplain training and joining the mind and the heart, I invite you to just take your hand and place it on your forehead and just kind of awaken and enlighten that prefrontal lobe that envisions and sees the future and knows and discerns and makes decisions. And then if you would, bring your hand down to your heart and just breathe there for a few minutes. Again, you are being called to do deep spiritual work in ways that you never have before. And then if you would lower your hand. And I invite you to hold out your right hand in front of you. And as we hold out our right hand, I offer love, kindness, and compassion. And lowering your right hand and opening your left. With my left hand, I discern and make wise decisions. And lower your left hand and open your right again. With my right hand, I offer love, kindness, and compassion. Affirm that with me. With my right hand, I offer love, kindness, and compassion. Lowering your right hand, opening your left. With my left hand, I discern and make wise decisions. With my left hand, I discern and make wise decisions. And once again, I'm just going to have you just open your right hand, and without speaking the words, just imagine the love going from your hand, the love, kindness, and send it out to whoever or wherever you think it needs to go. And then lowering your right and picking up your left, making wise choices and wise decisions. And then just play with it a little bit on your own, just opening the right and then opening the left. Kindness, love, and compassion, wisdom. And when you're ready, just open your eyes and come back to this place as we join again our heads and our hearts. There's a story about a Hindu saint who was visiting the Ganges with one of his students, and there was a family over on the banks, and they were arguing with each other, and they were yelling really loudly. And the teacher said, "So why do people, when they're mad, why do they yell?" And the student says, "Well, I don't know, because, we lose our calm and then we shout, we lose our temper." And he said, but why would you shout when someone's standing right next to you? Why would you yell? I mean, they can hear you. And the teacher said, when two people are angry at each other, the distance between their hearts is large. And in order to cover the distance, they must shout in order to hear each other. And the angrier they are, the stronger they will have to shout in order to hear one another. But what happens when people fall in love? When people fall in love, they talk softly to each other, don't they? And maybe, perhaps even whisper, because the distance between their hearts is very small. And the more deeply we fall in love with someone, what happens? The quieter it can be, because you can hear without words. You can hear in a whisper. You can hear in a touch. The teacher said, so when you argue, do not let your hearts get distant. Do not say words that distance you from each other more, or else there will come a day when the distance is so great that you won't have the path in which to return. So we join our heads and our hearts, love and compassion with discernment and judgment. You contain many worlds, many codes, and many possibilities. And just as you and I have witnessed kindness en masse, know that it's growing and that it can't be stopped. When Jesus said, "Love one another as I have loved you," it's happening. And so as a world, I believe that we are preparing to leave Egypt behind. We are preparing to leave the reptilian brain of survival and this is mine, as we are stepping into first the wilderness and the promised land. So maybe we're in the wilderness right now, right? We're leaving Egypt. So we no longer need to be captive to fear as we travel on this transformational journey. We have the tools. And let me tell you something. You're ready for the journey, whether you think so or not. Richard Bach said, "How do you know if your work on this planet is finished?" He said, "If you're alive, it isn't." So all of us here are alive. Our work is not finished. So go forth with courage and kindness and discernment. Amen. I think we have an announcement.